welcome back, y'all. It's another episode of What You Own. I got 3 special guests here with me today. I got Marcus over here.
Marcus.
I'm Jordan. I'm different.
Yeah, man. This is happenstance that we actually seeing each other today, but I kind of wanted to sit down with everybody and kind of talk about like trauma in the sense of like violence and just abuse or whatever it may be that you might have or know that people have from like how they grew up and just in their environment. I feel like a lot of our people suffer from trauma and grief, and we don't really like discuss it and have like counseling or anything like that. And then you can kind of get shamed. You know how black folks is like, oh, you sad? And then they laugh at you. Like, oh, you depressed?
Like right now, man, you sad? What you sad right now? Sad, bro.
It's all
my whole life been sad.
So, yeah, bro, that's kind of what the discussion is going to be about today. The quote is actually from Chelsea Handler today. And I think she's talking about herself, but she's saying anger is a cover for being in deep pain. And I feel like anger can explain a lot. Well, this quote can explain a lot because I feel like it's a lot of pain associated like with stuff we deal with, like when you lose somebody. Mm-hmm. But when you don't address it, it can manifest in a way of anger and just acting out. So I just want to like hear y'all thoughts on the topic so far. You like you got something to say already.
I'm just still laughing at the whole.
And you know, with trauma, it's a weird concept because we feel it present day, but some of the trauma we feel is from past ancestors, and it's just been in us resonating. And then if you don't find creative ways to express it or get it out, then it just sits in there and it goes to the next generation. So I feel like more and more people are starting to find ways to get out of it though.
I'm gonna say it's the hurt people thing for me. Like you talking about like your family passed stuff down that they got to them, like they just following that example. Like, oh, my dad was abusive, so I'm gonna kind of be abusive too as you, even though I don't call it that because you know what I'm saying. That's what they know.
And that's the thing about it. Like, it just shows you just how significant every choice you make is. Because like, I know a lot of people just go through life and live, and they make this mistake, make that mistake, and we're going to make mistakes. That's inevitable. But it's just crazy how like a single choice you can make, how it reverberates through your you know what I mean, your lineage. You know what I mean? And that's crazy because like it doesn't even just affect you; it literally affects your children. Because like you say, let's say you make one bad mistake. I didn't say one bad mistake, but just let's say you make a significant mistake in your family, and it severely impacts your child. Like you say, it leaves a trauma on them at that point. And so now, like you say, they have to move forward. They're like, and until either A, you guys come together and resolve it, or B, they figure it out on their own by themselves, unfortunately, and that's how a lot of people have to overcome their trauma. And it's crazy how, like you say, it just carries on. Yeah. So it really just, I think that's why we have to be so intentional with the things that we say and do. Because one decision you make, it ain't just affecting you, it affects your lineage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it affects your family too, and everyone you have around you. So, like if you were to get into an accident and you get hurt, you're gonna have your family who's also hurt emotionally, but not physically. So
I think a lot of stuff got a lot of unintended consequences to it. I feel like some people, you might even push people away because you've been hurt. Like even in like a more shallow sense, like say you get broken up with and it hurts. After a while, you're not gonna trust, the opposite sex, like the people. Yeah, you're not gonna trust the next person because you got trust issues.
That's not fair at the same time either, too.
Yeah, it's not fair to them, but it's like you always passing along something you got dealt with.
And even from looking at it from trauma, like, and the thing is, like, even within like people that's been close to me, the word trauma for some people it just holds like a bad stigma. I mean, don't get me wrong, trauma is bad, but it's just like even in conversation like the way we chopping it up right now. If I were to come to you and be like, okay, talk to me about some of the things that you done been through, or we just having a bro moment and we just being like, all right, let's open up, let's talk about some of the traumas that are affecting the way that we live now. I've had people as soon as they hear the word just shut down because they don't even want to accept that they faced any traumas in their life. But the reality of it is I ain't saying that everybody has the trauma, but I'm just saying that a lot of people do have trauma, or a lot of people don't even recognize that this event or something like that is hurting them and it's an effect to them now. Because like literally, I sit down and I think about like my childhood, my siblings, and people close to me, and I just think about like different things that we don't encounter. Because let's be realistic, even if you grew up in the same home as somebody else, your upbringing is different than their upbringing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The things that you face when you go out into the world in your class is different than things that they face when they see like their class and stuff like that. So just talking about those different things, like I even see how, I mean, once again, I think it goes back to like the nature versus nurture debate, but it shows just like I'm positive some of the way that I live and the way I move has been changed and altered because of some of the things I've been through in life. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy to me how even the topic of it makes people like clam up a little bit.
I think
it's. I was about to say people probably clam up because they haven't faced it, like you said. They don't know how to get over it. So we do have to discuss, I guess, some ways or like ways to cope or just ways to acknowledge it, and
that's what I was about to say.
You was gonna bring the same thing?
Yeah, how do you cope?
How do you cope with it? How do you talk about it? That's the first step of talking about it. And you brought up therapy earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You have to also realize that there is nothing wrong with that because it has such a negative stigmatism behind it or whatever.
Because our community don't demonize it.
Stigma. But
I know what you meant.
But I mean, another crazy thing about dang, I'm losing it now.
I was about to say, well, I was talking about as far as coping mechanisms. I was gonna ask y'all, like, personally, what are some, like, y'all know that y'all use or y'all notice that y'all use? For me, like, even like in an awkward situation, I feel like I'm under pressure, I'll be laughing through me trying to discuss this thing.
And joking and laughing, that's definitely one of the top.
So what about y'all? Like,
oh, most definitely. I joke about everything. So you already know, like, when I be talking about some of the crazy, like you called me the other day and we were just talking about something crazy going on in my family, and I was just making jokes out of it because that's just how I accept it. You feel me?
Yeah.
But Jordan hit it on the head for me earlier when he was just like, a lot of people don't even want to accept that they have a trauma, and I think that comes down to sometimes it's just like, you don't want to accept that this event happened to you. Not necessarily just that, because like in a lot of times we take ownership of it. Like for example, if this person wronged you, but like, a lot of people take it as if I admit that I'm hurting or that I'm suffering this, is because I allowed that person to hurt me or I let that person do this.
They gonna blame themselves.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
But that's the thing though, reality is a lot of times that trauma happened to you, you did nothing wrong. So like, to be real with you, I've seen this happen in my own life and I've seen this happen with people around me. Sometimes you just have to first off accept like, okay, this is the event that happened. This is the trauma that you have from it. But you also have to accept that even though this happened, it wasn't your fault. You did nothing to deserve X, Y, and Z. And I think so many people in life, they're craving to hear that from like whoever hurt them or whatever. And because they're never getting that, they're never getting that closure. And so sometimes, but that's why it's like a lot of times we gotta find it within ourselves, or we have to seek it out through like therapy or anything else like that. But you have to understand that like whatever happened to you, you didn't cause it. It's not your fault. You know what I mean? It happened. And after you accept that and you recognize this is where we at, then we can start thinking about the next couple of stuff. So like, okay, so now how can we rebuild past this moment?
I think what he's saying is like, stop taking responsibility for what other folks did. I think, and that's why y'all don't know why victim blaming is so dangerous. Like,
oh, for sure. And gaslighting, bro.
Yeah, all that, like, it's just like, I see what people are saying. Like, when it's coming to like stuff and people are hurting, and then you tell them, well, if you wouldn't have did this, it's like they kind of plays into their mindset, and it makes it even harder for them to cope and heal from what happened already. So
I was gonna say, one thing I will say is don't invalidate somebody else's feelings too. Just because somebody is hurt from something, you can't be like, oh, you'll be alright, you'll get over it. Like, you have to embrace their feelings, you know what I'm saying? Like, help them get through it too. Don't be like, oh, it's whatever. Because I know there's been times where I'm like, I feel like I'm hurting, but people are like, oh, it's whatever, you get over it, and stuff like that. So make sure you don't do that. That's gonna make it worse in the end of the day.
I did that. Y'all remember when was it here or was the other apartment? I walked in and Nico was like, he wasn't feeling the best about, just going to break up. Man. And I was like, bro, you still sad about that, bro? Get over it. I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty. I can be a butthole.
Definitely dangerous.
That was definitely the last spot. He definitely was hurt about that. And that's one thing I love about our brotherhood too that we have is just, it took a minute, but even he came to you and just like, yo, when you said that hurt me. That affected me in this X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? And that allowed us to have that moment because it taught you something. It taught you in that moment, like, you can't do that to people. You know what I mean? It was crazy, bro. Like that was a wild time, but yeah, that was in the last spot we was in.
Yeah, but like keeping it internal though, I mean, it's really hard because like say if you have pain, like external pain, you put a little Band-Aid on it, you can put a little alcohol on it, it'll feel better. But the internal pain, that's what's really hard to tackle, and that's the stuff that sits with you every day, all day. Like you can't really get rid of it unless you find those ways to get rid of it. So you definitely have to start taking those steps though in order to try to do better.
Because people, I mean, like you say, when you have external affliction, like right now, like if you don't hurt your leg, I can visibly see that. You know what I mean? I see something wrong with your leg. But what's going on inside you, nobody can even know. Like right now, it's people that you working with, that you come in contact with, that you cool with. Some of the ways and they little quirks and interesting ways, they're only like that because of their trauma. Sometimes they know it, sometimes they recognize that, okay, this event is what spurred me to be like this. But a lot of times people are moving, talking, and just interacting with the world in certain ways, and they don't even realize how that has been influenced and affected by things. And something that Jordan said that was real powerful was just like, don't minimize or trivialize somebody else's feelings. And I think personally that happens to younger children, and it creates this like type of thing. Like for example, like high schoolers, people are always like talking to like the youth and being like, bro, your problems don't even matter, bro. Like you don't know grown people problems. You don't know this, you don't know that. But you gotta understand, from their perspective, that's their entire life. That's everything to them, because that is their world. So if they come to you on a problem right now and you tell them like, oh, they don't matter, bro. Like let me show you some real people problems. Let me show you some like grown problems. Like you're completely erasing what matters to them.
What they feel.
That can grow over time.
Exactly. And then
older,
and they carry those same patterns to adulthood. And once again, it's a cyclical thing. Now they doing it to other young people.
I think you gotta, I mean, you in your perspective, because you already been through the problems, you realize they're not real problems to you. But I think it's like, it's empathy. One, you gotta put yourself back in them shoes, like how you felt about stuff. And then two, you gotta like arm your people with like the tools or the coping mechanisms or whatever it was that you learned to deal with that kind of stuff. So now when they go through it, or something else like that happened again, and then like, well, I can't talk to dad or whoever about it no more. It's like, nah, he taught me like, yeah, I gotta address it this kind of way. I gotta think through it this way. Like, what that person did is not my responsibility. They can affirm like positive stuff to themselves about stuff that happens versus trying to bottle it up and not being able to talk to the people they trust the most.
Yeah, and also like doing stuff like maybe getting some exercise or like meditating. Like even if you do something like that for like 10-20 minutes, it'll have like a profound difference in how you feel.
Yeah, that's real. I mean, because once again, it's all about being introspective and looking at your own self in the mirror and just thinking about like, who am I? What am I trying to accomplish? And just being real about like, what has hurt me? What is blocking me from achieving things I want to do? But one thing I will say, this could be its own topic of itself. It just, like you say, imagine if you don't spoke to, let's say, somebody younger than you, right? And you don't already broke that relationship because you don't sat here and trivialize their problems. Now they gonna seek that same type of love from somebody else. So if they can't come to daddy or they can't come to big brother, they gonna go to somebody else. Whether that's the OG in the block that's gonna really like put them on and start giving them game in that way, or it could be a teacher. Hopefully they get like a constructive mentor or somebody else that they can confide in. But it's so easy for them to take that path because at the end of the day, everybody wants love. Everybody wants love and acceptance, and they want somebody that's gonna listen to them and actually, like the things that they say, it gotta hold weight with somebody. It gotta mean something. So my point I'm making on that is, you don't understand just by how like sometimes you being a listening ear and being empathetic, how that could literally be what it takes to keep somebody on the right path. You literally could spur somebody else. That's why it's power in the tongue. And just another little thing I'm gonna touch on that is just like, that's why we, like I said about being intentional earlier, that's why we gotta be so careful about what we say and what we do to people, because you don't know when that person go back home how they gonna really take that. Like you don't understand like how the actions you may interact with somebody, whether that's a romantic partner or whether that's just a friend or whoever. The things that you say, whether they joke, serious, or other good junk, you literally can hurt somebody, but you ain't gonna see all the trauma. That's gonna be somebody else to deal with. Like I've seen girls that where dudes on, did them a certain way and it left them with certain scars, and now it's up to that next dude to kind of unpack these type of problems with them and resolve it, because you didn't see what she felt when she went back home. When she wasn't in your face no more after all that dirt and whatever you got going on, you didn't see her when she was by herself and she was like breaking down and it needed to be rebuilt at this point, and she having to do this by herself because you ain't there. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it just, we gotta be careful about like the trauma that we are leaving with people.
And my mama told me that. She said you never know what somebody going through, and that's why like people snap. You're like, dang, was it that serious, bro? But it's like it's always something else.
Something else was going on.
Yeah, like we just watched Ma Rainey's Black Bottom on Netflix, and it was, bro, really brought up all his grief and stuff from that stuff happened to his mama. I guess his mom was raped by some white man, and
spoiler alert.
I think that's what happened. Yeah, spoiler alert. Yeah,
I'm just saying,
but it ain't part of the big plot of the movie anyway. But it's like it basically escalates and it manifests in him doing something wild that was really uncalled for. So that's a spoiler, but you gotta watch it to see, I guess. But I feel like that, yeah, you definitely gotta watch. You never know what buttons you about to push, basically. And then I was gonna say too, it's important not who you got around you, because some people gonna build you up. And some people just, they there to just be there with you to enjoy, all the good stuff, but they're not there to help you with the bad stuff. And they don't have your best interests at heart.
And you got someone going like build themselves up or breaking you down at the same time, so you gotta be careful.
No, that's all I was gonna say. Cause I was just thinking like I'm grateful to have people around me that I can like talk to about stuff, and everybody don't have that. So, I mean, I feel like that's really a blessing. So if you don't have nobody like that, I mean, at least, I mean, you can try to find somebody like that. You know, talk to a professional.
Or like take a chance and just see if someone around you is feeling that same way, and just no one's having the conversation. Because you know, a lot of times that happens where, because you know, everyone always thinks that everyone's okay, but everybody's going through something.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of stuff you can talk to people about. You just have to open that door.
Break the ice.
Yeah, and start the conversation.
Yeah, that's it. True. We don't even have faith in each other, like.
To even try it. You just gotta
that's
try
crazy.
it.
We don't trust each other with our emotions. I guess that's bro, like.
I mean, but the real question is, should I really trust somebody else with my emotions?
What can they do?
Yeah, they can hurt you.
They can hurt you more.
That's what you fear, though. That's like a fear.
How can they hurt you more? By saying what you said?
True.
Well, what is that going to do to you?
But that's the thing, though. Like, right now, that's the thing, though. Like, if your trauma has been, like, let's say, a very close to the chest type of secret that you've been holding on, them spreading that, you don't know what implication that can have on somebody else's life. You know what I mean?
Trusting them.
So, and then on top of it, it's a really vulnerable process. Because, like, right now, you can't hurt me. Like, right now, if you don't know what I care about or what affects me,
Yeah, you can't hurt me.
yeah, like if you don't know what my treasures is, because like they say in the Bible, where your treasures are, that's where your heart lies. If you don't know what matters to me, you can't affect me. Like right now, if you, like let's say I care nothing about my shoes and you just talk about my shoes every day, that don't bother me. But let's say I care about my watch. Let's say that watch has some special meaning.
Sentimental.
And you say something about my watch, now I'm hurt. So it's the same thing with my feelings and the stuff that matter to me. If you don't know what matters to me, you can't touch me. But the moment I give you that insight into my life, you can play with that. You can poke that. And on top of that, and especially if somebody still, like keep in mind, if it's still traumatic and so raw, it still is influencing them. It's still affecting them because they haven't had a chance to work through that on their own. They haven't pieced that together. So it's like you now got access to something and you can literally play with that person. You feel me? So I understand why people don't necessarily just want to walk up to other people because it seems like you don't really gain much.
That's why I've been learning lately that like being vulnerable to other people is like one of the hardest parts about being like secure in yourself and like this and everything. It's like it takes a strong person to be vulnerable. It's not a weak person. It's a strong person who's willing to put like all that close to the chest stuff out there. And it's up to you to not drop the ball and mess it up and prove that they can't trust you. But it's like it takes a lot to put that stuff out there, and that's why it's like going back to like how we view ourselves in like relationships is, sometimes we feel like women can be, weak because they are vulnerable, but really they showing a lot of strength. Like they're brave enough to put it out there. So it's like some people aren't brave enough to show their emotions.
And then you can own it at that point too. Because like right now, it's kind of like you walking in your truth and you walking in the light at that point. Because if you take like, let's say a traumatic event happened to you and you be like, hey, this happened, it is what it is, and this is how it affected me, you're making it where it's harder for somebody to use that against you. You know what I mean? But when you still got that bottled up and you wrestling with it and you not necessarily like, what's the word? You can't just get ahead of it. It's kind of like, how when they be saying like bad press and all the other stuff, you gotta get ahead of it. It's kind of like that same thing. Like when you stand out there on it and you throw it out there, can't nobody use that against you. Can't nobody throw that back at you.
Yeah, it's empowering. That's what you just said. It's like controlling your own narrative about it. For sure. Hey, that sounds good to me. Hey, that's a wrap. Unless y'all got something else to drop on it. Anyway.
Hey, what is today?
The 9th, Saturday. Very nice.
Oh, just January 9th?
Yeah.
Oh, well, listen, it's a special day to the city.
I mean, it's just January 9th.
It's a special day.
Talk about that. I was like, what's good with your butt?
That's a whole nother
Special day
video,
to Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. You know what I'm saying? Go mild to the bros.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I was thinking you was talking about just regular stuff, like you got something on your agenda or something.
Nah, man, you ain't mentioned it, so I had to make sure y'all got it.
No, yeah. It's gonna be on there.
Now the people finna know. They be like, listen, he uploaded this on X, Y, and Z day, but this came out on the 9th.
Right, they were
Drop February 14th.
Oh, my bad.
Nah, it's straight.
I just want to show y'all what's going on in my life now. You mean last month?
No reality show.
For real. Hey, that's a wrap, y'all. Appreciate y'all for dropping in. How long did that time say? I don't even know.
It gotta be at least 20, bro.
About 20 minutes, but if you're here to the end, I appreciate you. Drop a comment down below if you feel like it. And I'll see you guys next time.
Alright, appreciate y'all.
Alright, welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. It's another episode of What You Own. I got a couple special guests here with me today. Whole gang's here. We got
I'm about to say, I'm just trying to figure out that mask situation because we look so inconsistent.
We do. I'm about to say that.
oh, what? I mean,
I'm just saying, if we gonna have that bit on halfway there,
Oh.
Just take it off. Just take it off. That's all you had to say, man. Take it off.
niggas like, y'all got the mask, nigga.
Inside.